Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we really get into the source material you send us, try and distill it down. And today, wow, we're diving into the Ballad of the Liars.
Hmm.
You shared this one, and I can see why the themes, corruption, truth, they really hit hard, don't they? You picked up on how it just like establishes its critiques so early on.
Hmm.
And that's why we're here, really. Our mission today, let's try and unpack this properly. We want to pull out the main critiques. How does it actually define corruption, the sort of systemic thing? And maybe more importantly, how does it promise, some kind of ultimate pushback, some resistance against these big lies?
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't ease you in, does it? That first chorus just throws you into this world that's completely, well, upside down. Truth is cheap and lies will stay. Right from the start, it sets this really stark, kind of adversarial tone. It tells you immediately, look, the normal rules, the basic morality, it's gone, replaced by something cynical.
Yeah, cynical, definitely. And that cynicism, it gets a pretty tangible identity straight away in verse 1, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Let's dig into that material critique because the poem, it seems like it's not saying corruption is just like a side effect of power. It feels like it's saying it is the power. We get those lines, gold and power wear their crown while honest hearts are beaten down. That feels like more than just saying greed is bad. It frames wealth itself, that mix of gold and power, as, well, the main source of legitimacy, like a kind of aristocracy of money.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about that, it means the corruption isn't just about a few bad apples, it's the system itself. And the results, the consequences laid out in the chorus, they're intensely violent. It's not just that honest wisdom is ignored, it's destroyed. The fools are praised, the wise are slain, and gold still shines through blood and pain.
Wow.
That persistence of the gold, that seems key. It's the constant thing. It just keeps shining, even through all the violence, all the pain it seems to cause. It kind of suggests the system actually, well, thrives on the very suffering it creates.
Okay, that sounds incredibly bleak. Does the poem offer any glimmer of hope? Any sense that this system can actually break? Or is the violence just part of what keeps the gold shining?
Well, it implies the violence is needed, yeah. But then the poem kind of raises the stakes, doesn't it? It shows us that wealth, it isn't just about motivation. It becomes a whole doctrine. Look at the bridge. Coins and power, their holy prayer, chains for the poor in the open air. It's like a total inversion of anything spiritual. They've turned hoarding wealth into their religion, basically. And the suffering, that's just proof of their faith.
Huh. So if wealth is the ritual and money is their prayer,
Yeah.
who are the priests? Who's running this pretty brutal show?
And that takes us right into verse 2, where it names names, so to speak, or at least types. It's not just some vague systemic pressure, right?
Yeah.
It's embodied by actual figures. The kings of deceit with poisoned tongues. They're the architects, the political ones pushing the lies.
Yeah, like the political rulers.
But then there are maybe the more insidious figures, the ones who use trust against people. It calls them preachers of greed, who hide their crimes behind a sacred face. That points straight at hypocrisy, doesn't it? The obvious villain, sometimes you can spot them. But the one using piety, using sacredness as a mask, they're the ones who can put those chains in the open air and maybe get away with it longer.
That structural hypocrisy.
Oh, I mean,
that seems necessary for the really big deception, the
Yeah.
one that messes with reality itself. So we go from controlling the present with, violence and money
Mhm.
to controlling the past. Verse 3 calls it twisted history. The poem seems to think this is like the absolute core of the manipulation. But why? Why bother changing things that are already done?
Because controlling the past is how you justify the present, isn't it? If their power now is built on lies, they have to create a history where they were always meant to be in charge, always right. The text is specific. They rewrite time with cunning hands, and crucially, change the birth of sacred lands. They're messing with the fundamental identity of places, of peoples, just to make their current setup seem legitimate.
That's huge. Rewriting time, changing the origin of sacred lands, that takes serious effort, serious cunning, those cunning hands.
It's a massive deception, absolutely, altering the very foundations for whole groups of people.
So what's the driving force behind such a monumental lie?
And this is maybe the most, well, shocking part, and maybe the most useful insight for you listening to this. Why do they do it? All this effort, this complexity, changing sacred history. The poem gives this incredibly small reason to feed their pride and nothing more.
Wow. Okay, let's just sit with that for a second. All that work, maintaining this huge lie, fooling everyone about their own history, and it's just about ego, a fragile ego. It kind of strips the whole thing of its, its grandeur, makes it seem almost Absurd.
Exactly. Absurd is a good word. It shows how small the deceivers are behind that massive facade of power. They're not some kind of evil geniuses with a grand plan. They're just vain, driven by needing to feel good about themselves. And
Yeah.
understanding that that vanity, it actually chips away at their power, doesn't it? It's a counter-narrative in itself. Their intimidation factor kind of shrinks.
So they build this giant, complicated house of cards, these lies, just to feel important. And to keep that image up, they need to project this idea of, like, inherent goodness. That's where the false light comes in.
Precisely. The bridge nails that contrast, doesn't it? Between the image they project and what's actually happening. They actively manage their PR. They call themselves saints, divine, and bright. They're branding themselves as the source of all that's good and moral.
Right. The perfect image.
But then immediately, the reality check. But they burn the world with a false light.
That false light, it's such a powerful symbol, isn't it? It's goodness that's manufactured,
Yeah.
designed to blind you. It's not the light of truth. It's this brilliant, maybe even beautiful, but ultimately destructive glare. And it's there to hide the burning, the destruction happening just beneath it. Spectacle, not substance.
But the poem doesn't just leave us there, does it? In that, spectacle of destruction. It brings in this promise of opposition, the final chorus. It contrasts that whole vast system of lies with a very focused kind of pushback. And this is where we get maybe not just hope, but certainty. Yet one voice will rise through storm and night to tear the mask of the false light. It feels like a definite shift from this really sharp, painful critique to, well, a guaranteed ending.
Yes, that one voice is so important, and I don't think we should read it too literally like one single hero figure. It feels more like the eventual, like unavoidable emergence of truth itself. That mask, the false light, it can only hold up for so long. It'll be torn away.
It's inevitable. The poem seems to think so. It reinforces that inevitability with that final image, which is really powerful. The river of truth keeps flowing. So even if history gets twisted, even if gold still shines through pain, there's this natural, persistent thing, the river, that you just can't stop forever. You can try and dam it, you can try and divert it, but water, well, water finds a way, right? Truth finds a way.
And everything we've sort of unpacked about their motivations, how petty they are, is how their power is based on these fragile lies, it suggests that dam they build, it's not as strong as it looks.
Exactly. Fundamentally fragile.
Okay, so let's bring this together.
Yeah.
For you, the listener who brought this text to us, what are the core takeaways? Let's recap the three main things we found. First, there's that critique of gold and power. It's not just a force. It's presented almost like a destructive religion, a holy prayer demanding suffering. Second, we saw how precise, how surgical their manipulation is. That twisted history rewriting reality itself. And the reason, not some grand ideology, but just monumental, fragile egos feeding their pride.
Right, the pettiness behind the power.
And finally, there's that certainty of the one voice. The poem assures us, look, the mask, the false light, it will get torn away. Truth, like that river, keeps flowing.
Yeah, so the ballad, at the end of the day, it gives you this really potent framework for thinking critically. It's not laying out a political plan, maybe, but it offers this bedrock certainty. The masks will come off. It encourages you, I think, to look for that one voice, that persistent flow of reality, even when everything around you seems, completely turned away from it, when the world seems lost in the glare.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with, building on that river of truth idea. If history can be rewritten with those cunning hands just to satisfy the loudest egos, the ones projecting that blinding false light, what quiet truths, what subtle currents flowing like that persistent river are we maybe missing right now, precisely because we're so focused on that dazzling, destructive glare? Something to think about, the difference between the loud glare and the quiet flow. Mull on that distinction. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.